Okay, here's a quick demo slash tutorial of using root motion over the network. Um, there's an accompanying blog post which I'll link to in the notes, and then I thought it might be helpful to just illustrate using root motion for a network game. A, because it's really easy to do, and B, because there's been a lot of confusion on the forums. Um, so what I have here is a sample third-person uh, Unreal 4.15.2 project, and it's just stock. And I'm using the Kobold's Fighting Anim Set Pro, which is a great. All of Kobold's stuff is great. This one, of course, has root motion, which is what we need for our example here. And the only thing I've created is this ahead of time was this animation blueprint. It's literally got one animation, which, if we look at it, is a root motion. Enable root motion is checked, and it's just the dude walking forward. One other thing to note on the animation blueprint is underneath the edit preview and edit defaults, you want to set root motion mode to root motion from everything. There are other options here, like root motion from montages and like that. For our purposes, we'll just leave root motion from everything. And you can actually check this. Right now you can see, hey, he's in place. What's going on? Well, if you just pick process root motion, it'll actually show you. You can see it motion is processing. So you can at least be certain that this part here, in terms of the animation blueprint, is working. The only other thing I set up was I bumped the number of players to 2. So in advanced settings, you can actually see number of players is 2. I'm still using just a single process, and I do have route first gamepad to second client check, but we may not even really need that. So if we run the game now, because we have that set to 2, for those of you that have played multiplayer games, you'll know it actually spawns 2 windows. And I can see the other guy, he can see me. And if you hit Shift F1, you can kind of flip back and go into this window. And we are networked, it's all good. One useful thing to do in here when you're doing this, of course, is to simulate lag. So if I do net packet lag 750, you can see when I move, there's some latency here before it actually shows on the screen. Notice when I move on the right screen, there's some latency to the left screen. And it can be useful to try to experiment with what real-world conditions will be like. Now, nothing's going to replace testing in a real-world scenario with true latency, but this is one thing to help. All right, so let's illustrate using root motion. So since we have our 2 players, let's leave those. Let's create an enemy, a new enemy character. We'll come in here to character. We'll call it enemy because that's a great name for an enemy, and we'll give him a mesh. Let's use our Fighting Anim Set Pro guy, and we want to bring him down, spin him around so that he faces the capsule forward vector, which is that blue line. And then we'll give him the enemy anim blueprint. You can see that blueprint is just always running that animation. And that's it. I mean, like right now, we can actually even pull him out into the scene, and if we play, you can see that he's walking, and actually both guys can see him walking, right? And that's because the default character movement component is set to support networked root motion. In particular, it supports the reconciling the position. So if you kind of think of the network packets coming back periodically, because they don't arrive every frame, there's a period of time between those updates where the client has to predict where to go. And there's a whole notion of client-side prediction for velocity-controlled characters. But in this case, we have root motion. We don't need that. We can actually just predict it by the animation that's playing and apply the root motion. and then it can reconcile when the packet comes in and there's a delta and a disconnect. There's code to interpolate between those two values and reconcile the changes. If we wanted to go one step farther, and let's just have him rotate and target our player, right? So if we added a variable here and we call it target, let me spell it right, and make it of class actor, right? An actor reference, so we can store that. And let's see. Let's say, and we're going to do this using switch has authority. So this means only run this on the guy who's authoritative for this enemy. And since this enemy is spawned by the server, this will actually only run on the server. And let's say, let's get spawn actor for class. I always forget. I swear it's actor of class. I can never remember. I'll remember eventually. Get all actors of class. So what I'm typing wrong all the time, just so I can plan in my brain, it's actors of class. I'm always typing actor of class, and I never find it, and I do this over and over again. So anyway, so we'll get all the actors of class, and our actual player is called third-person character. Since we know that we're going to have two in our world, I'm just going to target the first one initially. So we'll just do go back to context sensitive, do a get, and we'll set the target. If I hold down Alt when I drag it out, it'll automatically make it a set. So we wire that in, so we have the target. And then we can say, during the tick, if it's valid, then let's get actor location, and we'll get our own actor location, and we can say, let's see, we're going to want to find the look at rotation from where we're at to what it would take to look at the actor, and then we can literally just call set actor rotation, and it will face the guy. So now what will happen is he will always face this player because I'm the target. And if I run in front of the other actor, you can see eventually, kind of give you a side view, but basically, now if we want to up the packet lag, you can see that, actually I'm not seeing much latency. Did I not call it right? Oh yeah, there's latency on the other screen. So see, I move on the right screen, and he moves slowly on the left screen. And he's targeting, I wonder, that's more lag. Yeah, there we go. So what's cool here, notice there's some latency in both of them, right? So there's, 750 milliseconds latency is pretty decent. He does track the enemy. I'm trying to run I'm looking at the right screen while running on the left screen. But you can see I'll move, and then there's some lag until I actually move on the other screen, until he updates his turn on the other screen. And that's okay, because his targeting is only happening on the server, not on the client. So anyway, that should be a quick 2-second walkthrough. I might do something more involved, maybe, if people are interested. But using root motion, oh, one thing too, I don't have it up right now. But if you go look in the skeletal and the character movement component, there is in the source, there's significant support specifically for root motion and replication. So it does work over the network. It's not that it's going to be perfect for all situations, but at least it kind of gets you started. All right. See you later.